In this video, we're going to tie a Quill body CDC emerger. This is a Mayfly emerger. We're going to tie it on a Tiemco 2312 hook that I've slightly bent a little bit with my fingers. I've just kind of nosed down the eye of that hook a little bit, giving it kind of a little more exaggerated bend. We're just going to take some tan UTC 70 thread, start at about the midway point of our fly, and we're going to take our thread all the way down to where the hook starts to bend. And then I'm going to take a piece of Peacock Herl that I've stripped all the way down to the quill. I'm going to tie it in by the thin part, or the tip first. Then we're going to take our thread forward and we're going to build a little bit of a taper for our body. So I want it to be a little fatter up here and a little thinner down by the bend. So I'm just going to take my thread and slowly kind of build up a little bit of a taper. This will just add a little bit more realism and life to our fly. Takes a little bit of extra time, but I think it makes the fly look a lot better. So I'm kind of just slowly building that taper as smooth as I can. Just adds that extra bugginess to the fly. Now I'm just going to work my way forward for the final time, making sure each wrap is smooth, filling in any gaps. And I can take my thread to the end there. If you have any extra little fuzzies, you can just get rid of them with your fingers and your scissors. Now we're going to take that Peacock quill and we're just going to very carefully get it started with that first wrap. That's the hardest part, and then it should just get easier. Well, it looks like I have a little fuzzy still left on my quill, so I'm just going to try to get it out of there. I could barely see it. There we go. I think I got it that time. And make sure it's all stripped off and perfectly smooth. And as you get shorter with your quill, you have to be careful. I just use my index finger to kind of stop each wrap as I get closer and closer to the end. Hackle pliers help some people, but I found that a lot of times you can easily break the quill if you pull too hard on your hackle pliers. I do have a pair here and we'll try using them. You have to be very careful that you don't break the quill, so a lot of times I try to use my fingers. Once you get to the end, you can sneak your thread in there. And finish it off. We have a nice little tapered body there. Now, it's a very fragile body, so we need to coat it with a little bit of Loon UV Flow. This is really thin stuff, which is good. We want a really thin material just to kind of coat the body. I don't want to really build up any clumps or lumps. I'm just looking to kind of coat the body and seal everything in there. And you can draw off any extra with your bodkin. Once you get a nice smooth body there, you can hit it with your UV light. There we go.
Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in the thorax part of the fly. For that I'm going to use 2 brown CDC feathers. A little trick to make CDC a little easier to use, you can just wet it with your fingers. Kind of draw all the fibers together. We're just going to tie it in by the tip. Do the same thing with our other CDC feather. Now the next thing to do is to tie in our post. For that I'm going to use a little bit of white CDC. Again, you can wet it, draw it all together. We want that post to stick up about 1/8 of an inch, so you just kind of roughly measure it out. Tie it in right in the middle of your thorax. And you can draw the fibers up and lay a few wraps right in front of them to kind of pinch them into place. And just for good measure, I usually take 1 wrap of thread just around the post there, kind of like a parachute post. That'll help keep them together here. Gotta do it real carefully with CDC. There we go. Now we're ready to dub the thorax. For that I'm just going to use a little olive superfine dubbing. I'm just going to build up a little bit of a tapered thorax. Kind of working my way forward. I want it to look like this fly is hatching. It's supposed to be stuck right in the surface film, kind of emerging out of its shuck. So this will be kind of the main mass of the fly here, is this thorax. Just add dubbing little by little. It takes a little longer, but I like to add it just a little bit at a time so you don't overdub your fly. If you add it all at once, you'll end up with way too much dubbing on your fly. So I just add it little by little. And then once you get it the way you want it, you can work your thread back up to the eye of the hook. Now we're ready to tie in the legs. For the legs, I'm going to use a little bit of Partridge. I'm just going to strip away all the fibers I don't want. I want to kind of work the curve of the feather into the fly, so I'm going to tie it with the curve kind of facing up. And you got to be careful that you don't add too many fibers there. It's about 20 or so fibers. That should be plenty for the legs of our fly. And I want to reach back just past the thorax of our fly. And we can trim out the excess.
Now I'm ready for my CDC. I'm just going to draw the CDC right over the top of the fly. Lock it down. Then do the same here on the other side, kind of pinching that white CDC in place. Oh, looks like I didn't quite cure the fly finish quite enough, so we'll go ahead and put another coat on here as we're finishing. Probably could have hit that with my UV light just a little bit longer to really cure it, but we'll carefully add just a little bit more. That'll kind of finish off the fly, and you can always add 2 coats. That'll help kind of even out the taper, make it even more durable. Add a little more. Sometimes I get picky and try to perfect the fly, but sometimes you have to just leave good enough alone. The fly will catch fish, whether it's absolutely perfect or not. I can see one little spot in my taper that I just don't like, and that's just me being picky. We'll see if we can't even it out there. That's one nice thing about this UV flow, is you can kind of keep adding layers of material until you get it just the way you want it. Makes it much more versatile than a lot of the other material out there, because you can just kind of keep working with it until you get it the way you want it. That's pretty close to the way I want it. We'll call it good there. That is the Quill Body CDC Mayfly emerger. Great little emerging Mayfly imitation. It's supposed to sit in the film. You can kind of puff up that with a little bit of frog's fanny, a little bit of dry magic, and kind of hang that fly right in the film or the surface of the water. You can also take a marker. I think I have one handy here. And you can mark up the head of the fly. We're using some tan thread. You can always take a brown marker and kind of blend the head of that fly in. Just like that. Another reason I like to use a lot of light colored threads is because they're a little more versatile. You can just take markers to them. And that is the Quill Body CDC emerger.